I think the first inkling that I had of vocation was when I was in Europe. I was 14, and in this particular trip, there was a priest on the trip, and we were heading to this Tyrolean village in the Alps, and the bus broke down. Since the bus broke down, the priest just said to some of us younger men, he said, "Make me an altar and I'll offer Mass." I recall there was an elderly woman on the trip. She was dressed in a skirt, and when it came time for the Sanctus, for the moment at which to kneel, she knelt down. And I watched her, and then especially when it came time for the consecration and the elevation of the host, she looks up and she's got these tears in her eyes and she's staring at the host. I'm looking at her, and then I look back at the host and back at her, back at the host, trying to figure out what she sees, because I didn't see it. Her devotion destroyed me. It destroyed my indifference. And I wanted to know what she saw. I just had a wash of all of my years of indifference. All of a sudden, in one moment, I realized what the Holy Eucharist was. And then I went to high school. My religious practice waned over the course of 4 years. Until my senior year, ostensibly from the outside, I had everything. I was going to play football and knew the girl that I wanted to marry, even asked her to. And I was miserable. All of a sudden, my world sort of came crashing down because I couldn't stop asking the questions about the purpose of my life and existence and why it was that I couldn't be content, because I had everything. I had money in my pocket, had a nice car, had a wonderful girl, had a good appointment. Why was I sort of empty? And so I didn't go to the academy. I stayed home. I couldn't move. I was sort of immobile. And at that time, a new priest came to our parish, and I was wrestling during the day with keeping my mind occupied. And this priest seemed to be happy, and he seemed to be quite content. He had nothing, I had everything. Why was he the one that didn't seem as if he was tormented? And so, wise as he was, he got me working in the church since I was free during the day. And so I spent a lot of time with the Blessed Sacrament. And then I just began to pray, because I was in there anyway. So I started to talk to our Lord. I went on a trip, again, for the second time then to Italy. I remember coming home from that, having such an incredible experience that I promised our Lord that I would spend as much time in prayer as I did in the gym. I wanted this new life, but trying to find a way to do it without the priesthood, because that thought that I had when I was younger came back to me. And my love for the Eucharist, my love for my desire to say Mass, to offer Mass, kept growing. And in the proportion that it did, the more scared I got. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, I kept praying and struggling to find a way in which I could do this without the priesthood, and not admitting that I was just afraid. And I remember when I finally made the decision, we went with this priest and my friend, this Father Gober, and we got coffee, and we were talking about the priesthood, and I said, okay, it's time. And I stood up and I just said to everyone that was there, I said, hello everyone, my name is Matthew Kauth, and some think that I'm called to the priesthood. I was born on the feast of St. Francis, and he could tell the animals what to do. So, if I'm called to the priesthood, I want God to take that bird, turn him around, sit him right down here next to me. And the bird flew in the other direction. As you would imagine, sometimes God has to do things that are rather extraordinary. The bird did come and sit down next to me. And I looked at this bird, and I looked at them and I said, that could be a coincidence. And I remember the priest saying, no one gets that, right? You must be a really hard case. And so I was driving home from there that day, and I just stopped and said to our Lord internally, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll go after you. And the moment I did, I wasn't afraid of it anymore. I reflected on it later on, and I thought to myself, he never overwhelmed me. He simply offered it. And offered it with just enough pressure that I wasn't really satisfied with anything else. And there was always this movement toward it, but he never overwhelmed me. And the moment I said yes, well, then he overwhelmed me. And I just that moment, I remember how filled with grace I was and how joyful I was about the reality. Not that I didn't experience hard things later, but that never left me.